Hello, dear students of third prep science. Let's go to start our episode today as we have here to some types of questions as we have to make a general review about the three lessons as we have the of the electric current. Number two, we have the types of the electric current, and number three, the radioactivity phenomenon. So we should know how can we answer here, give reason for as an essay question, as we have some types of questions as problems, and how can we use drawing to mention the results in the parallel and series connection in the electric cells as we studied before in lesson 2 unit 2. So let's start our episode today with general revision about unit 2. First question as we see here زي ما احنا شايفين قدامنا you have four similar cells. عندنا زي ما احنا شايفين قدامنا هنا على المونيتور لو سمحتوا we have four similar cells. تمام. The electromotive force of each one is 1.5 volts. خلي بالنا عندنا 4 تاني هنقولها. We have four similar cells زي بعض. Electromotive force of each one equal 1.5 volts. Explain by what? By drawing. يعني لازم ارسم. How can we connect them to obtain battery of electromotive force equal? Number one is 1.5 volts, number 2 6 volts, number 3 3 volts, and number 4 4.5 volts. So here we should know the two types of the electric cells connection as we have series and parallel connection. Here we have number one, how can we connect them to obtain 1.5 volts? Here in this case we should connect all the electric cells as in parallel connection. Because in this case we get or we obtain the minimum electromotive force as we have here. All positive poles are connected together, and on the other side we have all negative poles are connected together. As we see here, all positive poles are connected together and all negative poles are connected together. اهو كده as we see زي ما احنا شايفين كده. All positive poles are connected together and all negative poles are connected together. So here in this case the electromotive force equal E1 equal the electromotive force of one electric cell. كأنهم كلهم as one electric cell. So in this case we have EMF equal 1.5 watt volts. Number one is finished. Number two, how can we connect them to obtain 6 volts? ازاي اوصلهم كلهم مع بعض to obtain 6 volts? In this case, we should connect them as we have how many? We have 4 electric cells. عندنا 4. So we should connect them all in what? Series connection. Because in this case, electromotive force equal E1 times their number, or the summation of the electromotive force of all cells, as we have each positive pole is connected with the next negative pole as we see here. And we should remember we have 4 electric cells. عندنا 4 electric cells, and here as you see like that. Okay, so we have to connect them in series connection. In this case we have electromotive force equal how many? Equal 6 volts. Okay, and the number 3 we can connect, or how can we connect them to obtain 3 volts? اوصلهم ازاي مع بعض عشان اطلعهم كلهم ب 3 volts. In this case we have 2 ways to answer this question. Number 3 ممكن اجاوبه بطريقتين. Because we have 4 cells, we can connect them as all as we have 2 electric cells here, or 3 connect in parallel connection. اهو هنعملها تاني. 3 electric cells are connected parallelly in parallel connection as you see. So here in this case we have the electromotive force of these electric cells equal 1.5 volts, and we connect them with other electric cell, but in this case it's parallel connection, series connection. So the total of the electromotive force in this case equal how many? Equal 1.5 هنا اهو, plus how many? Plus 1.5 here. So we obtain what? We obtain 3.5 volts. We have another way to answer number 3. ممكن اجاوبها بطريقة تانية. So here we have to connect two electric cells as parallel connection and two electric cells with parallel connection. ازاي? Like that. Two electric cells here in parallel. Equal how many? Equal 1.5 volts. And on the other side we connect other electric cells. هنوصل اتنين تانيين as parallel connection. Positive with positive. Here negative, negative. So we can obtain 3 volts. Why? Because in the right side we have 1.5 volts and in the left side we have 1.5 volts. So the total in this case equal 3 volts. So we answer 3 volts by two ways. The first, as you see, in this place, and the second case in this place. The fourth question here, how can we obtain 4.5 volts from these electric cells? ازاي نطلع منهم كلهم 4.5 volts? In this case we can connect two electric cells in parallel as we see here. اتنين parallel equal how many? Equal 1.5. Because in parallel connection, again بقولها تاني, in the parallel connection the electromotive force equal E1 if we connect them as what? Parallel. And we have two another electric cells. Each one of them has 1.5 volts, but they they are connected in series connection. In this case we have how many? Here we have 1.5 all in parallel, and here we have 3 volts. So the total 1.5 plus 3 equal how many? Equal 4.5 volts. Okay, so here dear students, in this type of problems زي ما احنا شايفين كده مع بعض ان احنا we should connect the electric cells in parallel connection all, or in series connection all, or mixing between parallel and the series connection. طيب لما نيجي مع بعض in this case or in the other type of question as we have here, بيقول لي as alternating current is preferred than direct current. احنا بنحب نوصل او we use alternating current is preferred than direct current. ليه؟ We have more than one option, أكتر من ميزة in the alternating current. أقول له because alternating current number 1, number 2, and number 3. Here number 1, alternating current number 1 can change or can be changed into direct current. The first option. The second option here, alternating current is preferred. Why? أقول له transfer for a long distances. أقدر أنقله المسافات طويلة. Number 3, variable intensity and direction. variable intensity and what and direction. يبقى here we have three options to choose alternating current then direct current. We should remember here how can we differentiate between alternating current and direct current by using the graphs. Here we have this axis of the electric current intensity and this axis of here of time. So here we have I, electric current intensity, and we have here T as time. So in this case we have what electric current as direct current. So direct current in this case is a straight line parallel to the time axis, because alternating current has constant direct current has constant intensity and direction. يعني الانتنستي والدايركشن بتاعته ما بتتغيرش. But on the other side عندنا the direct current. How can we illustrate the connection in the direct current؟ نرسمها كده مع بعض اهو. direct current we have two axes او two axes. نقولها تاني اهو. one for current intensity and one for time. But here we illustrate or present the alternating current. So here we have variable intensity or changeable يعني متغير electric current intensity and direction. So we can use the curved or zigzag line as what? As waves, because alternating current has variable intensity and direction. We have another question here as we have. يلا بينا ناخد other type question as we have here problem. Okay? Knowing the current intensity in the electric cell equal 5 ampere passing through 5 seconds. Calculate, هو طالب بقى مني calculate the electric تمام 5 ampere electric resistance. عايز نطلع electric resistance if the work done in this circuit equal 10 joules. Number one, we should remember, we should know the givens in this problem. Number one, we have the electric current intensity 5 ampere and time equal 5 seconds. We should calculate the electric resistance as R if the work done equal 10 joules. Type. From this problem, we should remember as R equal V over I. In this case, we have I equal 5 ampere, but we have no potential difference. We should obtain or calculate the potential difference. So we should go to the other rule or law. So we have V equal W over Q. صح؟ أقول له تمام. And we have W here equal what 10 joules صح. طيب we have Q quantity of charge، اقول له no we have no quantity of charge، مش عارفها. طب اروح للترينجل بتاع ال quantity of charge. we have I equal Q over T. here we have I equal how many equal 5 ampere يعني موجودة عندي. and we have time here equal 5 seconds موجودة عندي. يبقى أول حاجة we should remember أو we should calculate the quantity of charge. يبقى هقول له Q equal from the magic triangle equal I times T. I equal how many? I equal 5 times T equal 5 equal 25 coulomb. يبقى أنا طلعت مين؟ the quantity of charge. Then we will go to the previous law to calculate what? To calculate the potential difference as V. So we have V equal W work done to transfer a quantity of charge. So we have the work done equal 10 joules. So we have 10 over 25. So V equal what? Equal how many؟ by calculator سهلة جدا. أقول له 10 over 25 equal how many? Equal 0.4 volts. Don't forget the measuring units. The measuring units beside the number. And then we will go to the third. The third here mathematical law. We have R equal V over I. V how many? 0.4 and I equal how many؟ احنا قلنا I equal 5 ampere صح؟ اقول له يبقى over 5. So we have نرجع تاني للكالكوليتر اقول له 0.4 over 5 equal 0.08. يبقى هكتب 0.08 and don't forget to write the measuring unit as ohm. So some problems may use or may we use one triangle, or maybe we use two triangles, or maybe we use the three triangles, which means the three mathematical law أو laws. قوانين كلها ممكن استخدمها to find the result or the answer in one problem. Here we have another question as a give reason for. نرجع تاني للquestions بتاعتنا. give reason for. Number 1 بيقول لي some elements are radioactive. Number 2, the radiations الإشعاعات has a genetic change. Number 3, here as I give reason for هقول له connection of voltmeter in parallel with the two poles of the electric cell أو of the battery. So we will start with give reason number 1. بيقول لي some elements are radioactive. بعض الelements تبقى radioactive. أقول له طبعا because nucleus contains number of protons أو number of neutrons contains number of neutrons more خلي بالنا من كلمة ايه more than normal limit more than ايه normal limit. يبقى هي هنا we answer why they radioactive. هم ليه عناصر مشعة بيطلعوا إشعاع. أقول له because the nucleus contains number of neutrons more than normal limit. Number 2, the radiation has a genetic change. يعني الراديشن الإشعاع بيسبب genetic change. طبعا هنا we answer أقول له due to change in sex chromosomes forming abnormal embryos. يعني بيطلع abnormal embryos يعني أجنة والعياذ بالله مشوهة. يبقى هنا radiation has a genetic effect, so we talk about the chemical change or the change in the sex chromosome forming abnormal embryos أو births يعني مواليد مشوهة. Number 3, connection of voltmeter is parallel. خلي بالنا is parallel we know with two poles of the electric cell. خلي بالنا قال لي ايه with two poles of the electric cell. If we have to connect the volt we should connect it in parallel connection. Okay, but here we talk about parallel connection with the two poles of the electric cell. Two poles here of the electric cell or of the battery. أقول له to calculate what? To calculate the electromotive force, because voltmeter here has two options or two uses. تمام ليه استخدامين. as we have number 4 مثلا for example give reason 4 بيقول لي اهو connection of voltmeter in parallel برضو with two terminals of electric circuits. Okay, we have phone caller. We have Andrew from Alexandria. Hello, Andrew.
Hi, mister.
You have a question? Hi, Andrew. You have
I wanted to answer a question.
Answer this question?
Yes.
Okay. How can we answer this question? Number 4. Connection of voltmeter in parallel with the two terminals of the electric circuit.
To measure the potential difference.
Yes.
To measure the potential difference between the two terminals of the conductor.
Excellent. Okay, you have any problem in your or in this unit?
No.
Okay, Andrew. Give reason here. The formation or the existence of radiations in the food products in Europe after Chernobyl disaster.
Due to the transfer of the atomic cloud by the effect of wind and the rainfall, then the isotope transferred into the plant.
Good job. Good job. يبقى due to transferring of the radioactive elements by winds and rains to the soil of the Europe countries. طبعا هنا contaminated أو ملوثة يعني food products. Thank you. Good job, Andrew. If you have any question, we are waiting for you. Welcome, Andrew. So here, dear students, we should differentiate between the uses of the voltmeter. عندنا two uses of voltmeter to measure the electromotive force if it connects between the two poles of the electric cell. طبعا if the electric circuit is opened, is open, no electric current, because here we measure the electromotive force only. But on the other side, we have to connect the voltmeter with the electric circuit in parallel connection, but with the two terminals. خلي بالنا two terminals مع السلكين، مع طرفين السلك parallel، يبقى to measure the potential difference. Okay, here we have another point in this unit. How can we differentiate here between the electric resistance by Ohm's law and electric resistance as a common or يعني زي ما نقول familiar definition. We have two definitions for electric resistance. عندها اتنين definitions. Ampere has two definitions. Volt has two definitions. Okay? يبقى عندنا ثلاث حاجات في unit 2 has two definitions. We can define them by two ways. One according to Ohm's law, one according to the first triangle زي ما بنقول. So how can we differentiate? Here we have زي ما هنشوف دلوقتي مع بعض question اهو هنشوفه هنا مع بعض. بيقول لي مثلا لما يقول لي electric resistance. خلاص؟ ومره يقول لي ده question برضو هيقول لي electric resistance according to Ohm's law, قانون Ohm. So how can we differentiate between the two definitions? Electric resistance here we can translate هنترجمها يبقى opposition يعني ممانعة or obstruction facing the electric current. يبقى لما يقول لي يعني ايه electric resistance and full stop وسكت اقول له opposition facing the electric current. But if we have to define the electric resistance but here according to Ohm's law we should define as what? As R equal V over I. صح؟ اقول له يبقى what is meant by electric resistance اقول له it is a ratio. It is what? A ratio between the potential difference and electric current intensity. نكتبها يبقى لما يقول لي what is meant by electric resistance according to Ohm's law اقول له ratio between potential difference and current intensity. Okay, as we have here V over I as V 2I, as 3 over 2 يبقى 3 to 2. We can differentiate between fraction and ratio because fraction is a ratio. If we have another question as a compare here, or how can we differentiate between ampere, what is meant by ampere, and full stop, but we have another definition as ampere برضو هنا according to the Ohm's law. If we have to talk about or to define ampere and full stop ما حددليش, we can define from this magic triangle. طبعا احنا عارفين ان definitions كلها ممكن نجيبها from the magic triangle as we have here زي ما احنا شايفين قدامنا. هقول له I equal Q over T, and we know the measuring unit of I is ampere, and quantity, the measuring unit is coulomb, and time, its measuring unit is second. So how can we define ampere? ازاي اقول له يعني ايه ampere؟ اقول له ampere it is the electric current intensity when quantity of a charge equal 1 coulomb and time equal 1 second. نكتبها؟ نكتبها. يبقى لما يقول لي what is meant by ampere اقول له it is electric current intensity when, يبقى انا قلت electric current intensity اول واحده, when quantity of charge equal 1 coulomb passing بتمر يعني in 1 second. يبقى 1 coulomb in 1 second. But if we have here another definition of ampere, but according to Ohm's law. Ampere, from Ohm's law, we should use this magic triangle as we have R equal V over I. صح؟ R equal V over I. يلا نشوفها كده مع بعض. R V I. And here the measuring unit is ohm. Here the measuring unit is volt. Here the measuring unit is ampere. And he needs the definition of ampere. هقول له ampere it is the أيوة electric current intensity برضو when potential difference equal 1 volt and the electric resistance equal 1 ohm. يبقى we define ampere but according to Ohm's law from the triangle of electric resistance. نكتبها تعالوا نقولها. يبقى electric resist ampere according to Ohm's law هقول له it is, هقول له برضو electric current intensity when potential difference equal 1 volt and electric resistance equal 1 ohm. يبقى we define from the magic triangle on also like the first one. Okay. If we have another type of question بيقول لي هنا what happens when number 1 man exposed. man هنا معناها human، معناها إنسان. exposed for أو to exposed to a large dosage هنا معناها جرعة of radiation for a short period of time. يعني هنا خلي بالنا the man exposed to a large dosage of radiation بس الوقت صغير. And we have another question as what happens. Number 2 man exposed to a small dosage radiation جرعة المرة دي صغيرة but for a long period of time لوقت طويل. يبقى number 1 we have a common factor as we have radiation. عندنا إشعاع في السؤالين. number 1 عايز large dosage of radiation but for a short period of time. And number 2 we have a small dosage of radiation but for a طبعا long period of time. How can we differentiate between the first case and the second case؟ ازاي هفرق ما بينهم؟ هقول له number 1 man suffers يعني هيعاني from number 1 nausea diarrhea and vertigo. طبعا ممكن اقول له كمان sore throat يعني التهابات شديده في الحلق. يبقى nausea and diarrhea طبعا معروف معناها اسهال. vertigo and nausea معناها الارهاق الشديد والتعب الشديد. can't walk يعني بيبقى like disc بيتشال من مكان لمكان. طبعا هقول له due to damage in spleen اللي هو الطحال bone marrow and we know bone marrow اللي هو نخاع العظم forming the blood او red blood cells هو اللي بيكون red blood cells with spleen طبعا and we have here destruction or damage in digestive system and also in the nervous system. يبقى if we have large dosage but for a short period of time here we have nausea, diarrhea, vertigo. Why؟ أقول له damage in spleen bone marrow, digestive system, and the central nervous system. But if we have another exposure to a small dosage of radiation for a long period of time, we have another symptoms. عندنا أعراض تانية خالص لو الإنسان تعرض للإشعاع بس جرعات صغيرة وتقريبا يوميا. نمبر 2 هقول له هنا هوت man suffers، هيعاني برضو from. نمبر 1 genetic change as physical change. in 6 chromosomes قلنا forming abnormal birth. And we have another symptom. اقول له طبعا ممكن اقول له نمبر 2 cellular change. طبعا هقول له damage of hemoglobin، والهيموجلوبين طبعا كاري مين؟ طبعا كاري اكسجين O2. يبقى we have two symptoms هنا genetic or cellular change. طبعا واحد يقول لي cellular ايه علاقه الهيموجلوبين بالسيلولر؟ طبعا الهيموجلوبين is the main component in the red blood cells، عشان كده قلت cellular change. and the hemoglobin carries oxygen طبعا in the human body. طبعا الهيموجلوبين اللي عنده efficiency او نقص في الهيموجلوبين طبعا suffering from anemia، بيعاني من الانيميا. If we have another question as برضو what happens when number 1 increasing the electric resistance تمام. لو حصل electric resistance increase تمام relative to بالنسبة إلى the potential difference and current intensity. طبعا here we should use the magic triangle أو the mathematical law. هقول له طبعا R equal V over I, and here we know the relation between R and V is directly proportional, and the relation between R and I is inversely proportional. So if the electric resistance increase, the potential difference increase, but the current intensity decrease. How can we get or form this answer? We use here the mathematical law to know the relation between the electric resistance with potential difference and the electric resistance with current intensity. يبقى هقول له في الإجابة بتاعتي potential difference will increase, but current intensity will decrease. اوكي؟ يبقى هنا ال potential difference will increase and the current intensity will decrease because we know now the relation between current intensity with electric resistance and the potential difference with electric resistance. Here we have another question as give reason for. نرجع تاني ل give reason for. Number 1, avoid storing تخزين يعني the radioactive wastes. تمام. besides underground طبعا water or in animal caves. ناخدها كده ونقولها اورال مع بعض. لو جه قال لي في السؤال ده why we avoid storing the radioactive wastes behind underground water، هقول له to avoid transferring of the radiation by water. ده number 1. If we have another question, avoid storing the radioactive wastes in animal caves في كهوف الحيوانات، اقول له to avoid transferring of radiation by animals، لان animals هتاخد radiation وبعدين تبتدي تنقلها. avoid we should cool down او make artificial lakes. بعض الدول النوويه او المفاعلات النوويه make artificial lakes، بيعملوا بحيرات صناعيه، اقول له for cooling purposes، لاستخدامات التبريد طبعا of the radioactive wastes, especially the strong radioactive wastes. By this point, dear students, we have to finish this episode. طبعا waiting for you in the next week إن شاء الله with a new lesson as we have the genetic traits. How can we deal with the genetic traits الصفات الوراثية and how can these traits transfer from one generation to another. Until we meet again, thank you, see you, goodbye.